What's good, church family? Hope you're having a blessed day today. It's your boy, Church by EV, and we here today. We're gonna watch a video about hot dogs. See what are hot dogs? Just facts about hot dogs and the origin and stuff like. I believe that what it. I haven't seen this video, so if y'all hear noise, I'm not at the crib. Just know that. So you hear noises, I'm not at the crib. So let's get into the video and see what we can learn about hot dogs. Because a lot of people eat hot dogs. That's like a cheap route. But what's really in hot dogs? Is it healthy for us? Is it killing us? These questions I want to know. Commercial as always.
Expedia members get member prices and rewards for future trips.
When it comes to things people are pretty sure they don't want to know, what's really in a hot dog almost certainly tops that list.
Yep.
But our job is to be frank about such matters, so whether you've ever wanted to hear about it or not, today we're going to take a look at what's actually in a hot dog. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other meaty delights you would like to hear about. Okay, get ready, because we've really been relishing this one.
Wow, really?
For those of you who are unfamiliar with American cuisine, or just take things too literally, a hot dog is not made for, by, or most importantly, from dogs. So, what is it? It's a sausage that's been boiled, steamed, or grilled, and then served resting in the open part of a partially sliced bun, usually with condiments like ketchup or mustard, and toppings like onions and sauerkraut. There are several theories as to who was the first person to put hot dogs in buns, but the meat itself probably traces its origin to Germany. Well, sausages actually go all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia, but this particular style of cased sausage is likely German. At least, the Germans think so, although they can't agree on where in Germany it's from. One theory holds that it was Frankfurt, which is why they're sometimes called Frankfurters. Another theory holds that it was Vienna, which is why they're sometimes called Wieners. Hamburg stayed out of it because obviously they have their own meat thing going on there. Given they already had two names, you're probably wondering who decided to also call them hot dogs, and why. Well, once again, it starts with the Germans. Only this time it was German immigrants in New York in the 19th century who sold them as Dachshund sausages, likely due to the resemblance to the breed of doggo that goes by that name. It's from the name Dachshund sausages that the name hot dog was ultimately derived, although a 19th century era belief that they were actually made from dog may have also played a role. Due to the fact that so many of those early vendors were Jewish butchers who observed kosher laws, American hot dogs tended to be all beef, as opposed to their German predecessors, which usually also contained pork. People must have liked the change because despite America having a pretty iffy relationship with Germany for the first half of the 20th century, the hot dog quickly became an American icon. Early hot dog vendors often sold their food from carts and are responsible for the long-time association of hot dogs with street food and carts. Cheap, fast to prepare, and easy to eat on the go, hot dogs were a perfect food for an increasingly urbanized nation, and hot dog carts are still common in cities all over the world today. But those street vendors were really only the beginning. Starting in the 1870s, iconic hot dog stands at New York's Coney Island, especially one owned by German immigrants.
Y'all, I might sound dumb for this, but we know that in Texas, I live in Texas. There is a fast food spot called Coney Island. Now, growing up, I did not know Coney Island was a real place, like a real location, until I became like a teenager. So I was like, cause I only known Coney Island from the fast food spot, and they sell like hot dogs and stuff like that. So when I seen it's a real place, like, oh wow, really? I'm like, I feel dumb. I ain't gonna lie. So hey, I had one of them slow moments, but call back up. I just wanted to share that.
Charles Feltman started to create a popular association between hot dogs and leisure. That association is likely why hot dogs became common fare at baseball games, at least as early as the 1890s. And they were already wildly popular by the time of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, where thousands of them were served. Incidentally, many of those were served by a company owned by a local German immigrant butcher who had a first name. It was Oscar. He also had a second name. It was Mayer. And Oscar Mayer had a way with selling meat products with his name on them at public events. The association of hot dogs with public events only continued to grow, and by the 1920s, people were eating them at everything from horse races to circuses to county fairs. Seriously, wieners were everywhere, and a big part of the credit for that has to go to a Polish immigrant named Nathan Handwerker, who opened a little place called Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Stand at Coney Island in 1916. Handwerker charged 5 cents when his competitors were charging 10, and he quickly drove them out of business. By the time of the Great Depression, Nathan's hot dogs were famous throughout the nation, and by the mid-30s, Oscar Mayer was...
I learned about that. So I was watching the documentary about Coney Island and what is it called? Coney Island, and about these two dudes. He was one of them, Nathan's, cause he worked for a dude that was selling hot dogs already. So he betted on himself and said, you know what? Cause he was really doing most of the work. And he bet on himself, and he opened up his own hot dog stand. And that's like how hot dog became like famous in Coney Island. I can't remember the name of the documentary, but basically that what hot dogs got popularized in Coney Island. And them two was like him and the dude he was working for. They was the ones that made hot dogs popular in Coney Island at that time. So, little something I put together 2 and 2.
Mass-producing hot dogs for supermarkets and promoting them with a Wienermobile. Yeah, it's that old. The hot dog was becoming so mainstream that President Franklin Roosevelt served 2 of them to King George VI of England and his queen at a picnic in 1939. George, for the record, seemed to dig them.
That's way baby.
Grilling hot dogs is so deeply associated with the 4th of July, you'd think George Washington was cooking up a barbecue full of ballpark Franks at Mount Vernon while Jefferson, Adams, and Hamilton stood close by drinking beer out of camouflage cans. But the truth is, Independence Day cookouts have more to do with the suburbs than the Revolution. After World War II, Americans were flush with cash, and they started moving out to the suburbs where everybody had their own little backyard. Those backyards were the perfect place for hosting barbecues, and due to their pre-existing popularity at public events, hot dogs quickly became a cookout staple, and that included the big cookouts like those thrown for the 4th of July. The association between hot dogs in America took root.
Oh my God! You look like the 4th of July! It makes me want a hot dog real bad.
And today, Americans consume somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million hot dogs on the 4th of July alone. In fact, hot dogs are an almost ubiquitous part of American culture, and every city has its own style. In New York, they're usually topped with a spicy brown mustard, sautéed onions, or sauerkraut, whereas in Chicago, they come in a poppy seed bun with a mountain of toppings like tomato, pickle spears, sweet onions, hot peppers, and relish. Atlanta tops their dogs with cool, crunchy slaw, while Detroit prefers theirs covered in beef chili, shredded cheddar, and raw onions. In San Francisco, you might get one with creamy mayo and smoky bacon, which also happens to be popular in southwestern cities. In Tucson and Phoenix, for example, people enjoy a hot dog that's wrapped in bacon, topped with pinto beans, mayo, mustard, onion, chopped tomatoes, and jalapenos. Hot dogs in Milwaukee are often served on a toasted hard roll rather than a traditional hot dog bun, and they can be topped with butter, mustard, pickles, and sauerkraut. And the people of New Jersey also like to mix things up. In Newark, for example, hot dogs can come on an Italian roll with peppers, onions, and fried potatoes. According to Nathan's, Nathan Handworker held his first 4th of July hot dog eating contest way back in 1916 as a way to settle a bet between 4 immigrants who each claimed to be more patriotic than each other. If that sounds too incredible to be true, well, that's because it is. While there certainly were hot dog eating contests, at least as early as the 1920s, there's not a lot of evidence Nathan's held one until 1967, and they didn't start the 4th of July tradition until 1972. Nonetheless, it's generally considered to be a marketing bonanza for the company and has drawn big ratings for ESPN, who recently signed up to televise the contest at least through 2029. The always colorful competition has been especially controversial as of late due to the 2024 banning of 16-time champion Joey Chestnut, arguably the greatest professional eater in the world.
Which mother on this earth can suck down the most amount of hot dogs and buns? And it's always one name. Joey Chestnut.
Chestnut was locked out of the competition after signing a deal with Impossible Food, which manufactures plant-based hot dogs. Since the hot dog eating contest is supposed to promote Nathan's brand, Major League Eating prohibits Chestnut from endorsing a second hot dog maker, and his new deal therefore meant he couldn't compete. Making the best of a bad situation, Chestnut instead opted to compete in an eating contest at Fort Bliss, where he helped raise over $100,000 for Operation Homefront. Given that Chestnut is pretty much the LeBron James of pro eaters, and their contest is far less of a spectacle without him, we wouldn't be shocked if Nathan's pulled out all of the stops to get him back in the fold. Of course, it asks the question, why would Joey Chestnut, of all people, look for an alternative to good old hot dogs, the meat that made him famous? Is it a truckload of money, or because he thinks something could be wrong with hot dogs?
That's a good question. I just seen that too.
Instacart get grocery delivery.
Just seen that Nathan's
Install it now.
Contest. I wonder what the heck is Nathan's. Now it makes sense. It makes sense now. Okay.
For as long as there have been hot dogs, there have been people who suspected that hot dogs were filled with the most disgusting ingredients they can possibly think of, and with good reason. Upton Sinclair's famous 1905 meat industry expose, The Jungle, confirmed that early 20th century meatpacking plants were a nightmare, routinely using super shady ingredients like sawdust and horse meat, and a whole bunch of other nasty things we won't name in case you're eating, including entire workers. After that, meatpacking plants were regulated and had to abide by strict guidelines designed to protect consumers from eating anything too disgusting. A few unfortunate things have still slipped into the mix here and there. For example, Americans have reported additional ingredients including hair, metal shavings, ants, silverfish, insect larvae, a rubber band, needles, a coin, a pill, bone, wire, plastic, and part of a box cutter.
You know they make those things out of, huh, Chet? You know? Lips and ass.
Despite how this makes it sound, such ingredients are extremely rare. As of 2015, out of the billions of hot dogs sold and consumed nationwide, the U.S. government had just 38 reports of foreign objects found in hot dogs. So that must mean hot dogs aren't as bad as you think, right? Well, here are some facts, and then you can decide. The USDA says that at least 54.5% of a hot dog must be real meat. So those dogs you buy at the supermarket probably are really made of beef, chicken, pork, or turkey, but they're often made from what they call the trimmings of the animal. Those are the meat cuts discarded by the slaughterhouse, which include things like fatty tissue, sinewy muscle, liver parts, and sometimes even meat from the animal's head. That's the smartest meat. That stuff is then cooked to kill bacteria, turned into a paste via emulsion, mixed with any number of filler products, and then pureed and stuffed into a sausage case. Some flavoring and preservatives are usually thrown in there for a good measure. And while there's a little more to it, that's essentially how every hot dog is born. Of course, some products are definitely manufactured at higher levels of quality than others. For example, if the words variety meats or meat byproducts appear in the list of ingredients, there's a good chance your dog contains heart and other organ material. Conversely, if it says something like all beef or all pork on the package, you're probably okay on that front. And if it doesn't say it's all natural, then there's probably MSG and additives like nitrates in it. That being said, many have pointed out that by allowing the consumption of parts that would have otherwise been discarded, hot dogs make animal consumption more sustainable for society, and additives like nitrates actually prevent botulism, so picking the right hot dog for you might be more complicated than it seems. Maybe next time just go for the chicken fingers? So what?
Wow. Well, hey, y'all make our decision. I really don't eat hot dogs like that because just watching different history things, documentaries on food and stuff like that, it's like, ugh. It's like, nah, I'm good. So it's up to y'all what y'all want to do with that information. But that was a real interesting video. It just jarred back some memories of documentaries I watched and things I seen, but I couldn't connect it to, so they helped me connect it to with the hot dog eating contest. The hot dog eating contest, and why that Joey dude, Chestnut dude, couldn't participate. Cause when I was watching it, they kept talking about him and how he couldn't participate. But I was like, why you can't participate? Now it makes sense. Cause a lot of times it's like a conflict of interest. Like you sign a deal to something, but it conflict with like another opportunity you trying to take, another opportunity. It conflict with that. Cause like you can be signing with, let's say you sign up with Nike, and Adidas got something going on, and we know Adidas and Nike are competitors against each other. So it would be a conflict of interest to be signed with Nike, but try to do something with Adidas. That's not gonna work. They ain't gonna like it. Either company ain't gonna like it. So I understand why he couldn't participate in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. So it makes sense. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Y'all comment. Do y'all eat hot dogs? What type of hot dogs do you eat? Cause they do have chicken now. They got the chicken kind where you can get chicken hot dogs. You don't got to get the pork. You can get beef. I love the beef dogs, the beef ones, all beef. If I get any hot dog, it's gonna be all beef. And then they got the one with beef, pork, and chicken. So you gotta read the labels and do your research and stuff like that. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Comment, hit that like button, subscribe. No, I love you. First and foremost, God love you. And y'all have a blessed day. It's your boy. We out.